My name is Mike Mullins. I live in Donegal, Buncrana, County Donegal. My wife is Aster, and we've got 6 wonderful children. I work full-time with the Coast Guard, but I did take a career break a number of years ago, and during that career break I worked with a Christian charity. And one of the things I did during that time was I carried a 12-foot cross the length of Ireland. This was something that the Lord really put on my heart, and so I brought it to the team of young people that we had, some interns, and I thought this would be a great project for them to do, to carry across the length and breadth of Ireland. In fact, the vision that I had from God was that I'd carry a 12-foot cross and make the sign of the cross over Ireland. When I brought it to the team, one person in particular was very, very excited about this. He said, I go. He was a Korean guy and just was very enthusiastic. The others had a lot of questions. They were wondering, where are we going to stay? Where are we going to walk exactly? How are we going to eat? And how are we going to get by each day? And how long is it going to take? So many questions that I said, let me think about that, come back to you. When I came back, I prayed about it, and I really felt that this is something that God had really put on my heart to do. And I felt the Lord asking me, why am I putting it on them to do? So I rephrased it and I said, listen, I'm going to carry a 12-foot cross. Who wants to come with me? And so that was the beginning of it, and that was in 2009. And we carried a 12-foot cross the length of Ireland, starting down in Cork, carried up to Roscommon, did another walk from Donegal down to Roscommon, and then a third walk from Galway to Roscommon. And then our son got cancer, and we saw him healed, but a lot of other things happened, and we returned back to Donegal. We had been living in Roscommon, and I really thought, well, that's the end of that. I got back into my full-time work with the Coast Guard, and that was until just the beginning of March 2024, where I had a dream, and in the dream God spoke to me and called me Michael. And in the dream I got an invitation, and the invitation was to finish the walk, and to walk from Roscommon to Dublin, finishing at the GPO in Dublin. I felt God was inviting me to finish an adventure we started some 15 years before. So my wife was really excited about it, as was I. I had 2 weeks off. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with the 2 weeks, and so it really fit in. And I had no preparation done for this. And I really felt that this walk was going to be different, because the other walks I had brought teams with me. But I felt that this was something I had to do personally. And there was a lot involved in that. So my wife gave me the green light to go. I had the time off. So then I needed to check and see if the cross was still there. And that's an interesting part of the story, because it meant that I had to make some phone calls. The cross was based down in Roscommon. It was, I think, in a barn. I had to see, was the cross still there? But it meant I had to make some phone calls to people that I really hadn't spoken to in a number of years, almost 13 years. And so there's a reconciliation happening here that was really, it really needed to happen. And I think this is a beautiful beginning to this whole story. I phoned, got talking with some old friends, and the cross was still there. It was roadworthy, didn't have an NCT, but it was roadworthy. It was in a barn, and it was ready to go. And I came down, I met the guys, and it was a beautiful time of reconnecting with people that I hadn't seen in a number of years. And many times in Christian circles, you can have fallings out because of theological differences. And that can be very sad. And reconnecting and reconciling is a beautiful thing when it happens. And so seeing the guys and seeing the cross, I knew that this was really the beginning of the journey. And then also, just tied in with that, so many other people, before I even mentioned that I was going to be doing this crosswalk, started getting in touch with me. People, again, that I hadn't spoken to in years. And they were messaging me, wanted to meet up with me. And I had some beautiful moments. I had one person come to my house, and he had asked me early in the morning, texted me and asked if we could meet up. And I said, yeah, absolutely. And I felt I was in a flow, that God was doing something. And so when he messaged me, I replied back and said, yeah, I'm very happy to meet with you. Maybe we can arrange a time to meet up. And then we were sitting in my sitting room, and shortly afterwards, maybe 2 hours later, my wife is looking out the sitting room window, and she says, you're not going to believe it, but our friend is pulling up outside. And he came to the door and said I couldn't wait, and would it be okay? Brought him in, we sat down. It was great to see him after so many years. And then he said something very, very powerful to me. He said, Mike, I want to offer you an unconditional apology for something I said all those years ago. Well, we stood, we embraced, and it was a reconciliation. And it was so beautiful. And I just knew, again, it was confirmation that God was doing something very powerful. And I asked him, did you know that I was doing a crosswalk? And what prompted you? And he didn't. He just really felt a prompting just to get in touch and to reconnect. So that was very encouraging for me. So I knew again that God was doing something, and he was inviting me to be part of it. This was for me, but it was also for other people, because I felt that as I was going to do this walk, that there would be people along the way that I would meet. The Lord really put that on my heart. It was like divine appointments waiting for me. And I was very excited about that, because I was just making myself available to God. And the only message I had really was that people were deeply loved by God, deeply loved by God. So then on the 16th of March, I drove down from Donegal to Roscommon. I had nowhere really to stay. The whole idea of this would be like a walk by faith. I made a phone call on the Friday night before I went to a friend in Athlone and said, could I stay in your couch? Would that be possible? And he said, absolutely. He said, yes, come, we'd love to host you. I told him what I was doing, and he remembered the one I'd done before. And I'd made one other phone call to a Catholic community in Kilbeggan, because when I looked on Google Maps, naively, I looked on Google Maps and thought, well, I could do this in probably maybe 3 or 4 days. And so I was so far wrong, and you'll hear how far wrong in a few minutes, but I so misjudged that. But I'd made a phone call to a Catholic community in Kilbeggan called the Cayley Catholic Community, and I said, listen, I'm not Roman Catholic, but I'm carrying a 12-foot cross, and I'm going to be walking from Roscommon to Dublin. Could I stay? Would you have a room that I could stay in at your facility? And they said, Mike, we would love to have you come and stay. It would be a pleasure. Right. So that was one place, and then my friends in Athlone had another. But apart from that, I had nothing. I had nowhere to stay. So it was really going to be an adventure. And I love an adventure. The Bible is full of epic adventures. In fact, life is an adventure. And I love to step out of the boat. And so I was all excited, drove down to Roscommon, and saw the cross, had a rucksack, I had my walking boots, and I had my wet gear, and a load of stuff I just threw into a rucksack, including blister plasters and a bottle of water. And I took up the cross on that Saturday afternoon, the 16th of March 2024, and started walking.